Hello and welcome to Cupcake Addiction's Rainbow Cupcake Pull-Apart Cake, where I'll be showing you how to make this gorgeous rainbow pull-apart cupcake cake. I have an 18-inch by 12-inch or 45cm by 30cm cake board. You can use either a thick cardboard cake board or a wooden cake board, and I've iced mine in a little bit of light blue fondant. So if you are looking for a great tutorial on how to ice a cake board, we do have one on our channel, MyCupcakeAddiction. Feel free to check that one out. I've got a double batch of our perfectly pipeable buttercream frosting, and I've split each batch into 3 and coloured it in all the colours of the rainbow, I guess. So if you are going to use our recipe, just leave out a little bit of the milk. I would suggest leaving out about a tablespoon of the milk that we recommend so that you can replace it with a little bit of that food colouring in those different colours. I've got a pair of scissors, I've got some melted white chocolate, and I've got a whole packet pretty much of white marshmallows, just standard sized white marshmallows, and I've just ripped those into halves or into thirds depending on the size that you're going with. And to fill in some gaps, I've got just a few of the little white baking marshmallows. All of my perfectly pipeable buttercream frosting over here are in Ziploc bags, so I'm going to use the Ziploc bags today as piping bags, just a little bit easier than having, I guess, 6 or 7 piping bags at home. Pop these ones off to the side, we're not going to need those till later. I'm going to be doing this pull-apart cupcake cake today with 24 mini cupcakes. So the first thing we want to do is start positioning the cupcakes. Now I don't use anything to adhere those to the board, I just sit them down. It gives me a good opportunity to, I guess, move them around a little bit and make sure that I'm happy with where they're all sitting and the size. I found 24 was perfect for this size cake board. When you're positioning your cupcakes, you want to position them as close to the top of the board as you can, because we're going to pop some of those lovely marshmallow clouds down towards the bottom of the board. So just squeeze them all in nice and tight together. I think I've done 5 in that bottom row, 8 in the second row, and about 11 in the third row. And I used mini cupcakes for this one because I just didn't want to have a huge cake. I think the cake's big enough using minis, and if you were to use full-size cupcakes, you'd need a much bigger board. So just have a little play with your cupcakes. Make sure that you're happy they're making a nice rainbow shape. I think that looks pretty good. Now we're going to take some of this white buttercream frosting. So this is just the standard buttercream frosting in the Ziploc bag. I'm going to take the scissors and I'm just going to snip off just a little corner. Now with this, I'm just going to, I guess, do a little bit of gap filling. So I'm just going to take that snap lock bag, I'm just going to squeeze that frosting down to the end, and I'm just going to fill in some of those gaps that you can see with frosting. Be careful not to apply too much pressure to any one point of the bag because you don't want it to split. So I'm just squeezing nice and evenly and just filling in those gaps. This is going to putty up the gaps and give us a nice smooth surface to start frosting on, but it's also going to help stick those cupcakes into place. Okay, so there you should have something that looks like that. Now I'm going to start frosting my cupcakes from the outside in. So the colour that I want on the outside is going to be red. Once again, I'm just going to take that bag and just snip off a little corner, squeezing that frosting down into the bottom, into the, I guess, the end of the bag so that it just pops out the end. And I'm just going to start with just a swirl. Now you don't want to swirl the entire cupcake in colour here, you just want to do about half to 2/3 of the cupcake. Because we've got more than 3 colours, you just want to make sure that you're going to, I guess, fit them all onto the rainbow. So I'm going to start here and I'm just going to swirl. Nice little rainbow swirls. Now do make sure that you're coming all the way out to the edge, covering up any edgy sort of bits of your rainbow and joining up all of your swirls nicely. Alright, that's our first colour done. We're just going to repeat this with the next colours. So once again with the orange, snip off the corner and get into our piping. Now when you do get to your very last layer, just fill in any additional bits so that you've got a nice, even, rounded finish there. So there we've got the basic rainbow shape. Now I'm going to take a bit more of that white buttercream frosting and I'm just going to squiggle it around here. This is going to be our clouds. You can't have a rainbow without clouds. So we've got these marshmallows. Now I'm going to start with all of my larger marshmallows and I'm just going to stick them into that frosting. Now as you start to get to your second and third layers of those, this is where our melted white chocolate comes in. I'm just going to dip those marshmallows into just a little bit of the white chocolate, just so that they've got something sticking them on. Alright, so there you have your gorgeous rainbow pull-apart cupcake cake, perfect for any rainbow party or any occasion. Thanks very much for watching.